I'm Marcus D, and today I'm going to be showing you how I made Night on the Town, which is a track from my album in 2012 named Melancholy Hopeful. The track features Sice Star, Substantial, and Funky DL, and I'm going to go into more depth on how I made that beat and how the song came together. So, as you probably know from the intro, it started with the record, which is from the 1980s that you can probably find if you know where to look. And first I started with the sample and then a couple other drum breaks and some kick drums, and it kind of just built from there. So I'm gonna go over that right now. So first part is the sample. When I heard that track, what stood out to me most was the trumpet. So I took that and used it as the intro and then part of the main part of the beat too. So it's got the strings and the trumpet in it, and then the bass too. So instead of, that turnaround every time, I took the chop. And then turn that into the intro. So for people that don't know what I'm using, this is FL Studio, Fruity Loops. A lot of people call it Fruity Loops. I've been using that since 2006, I think. Yeah, 2006, 2005. And I put various instruments into Fruity Loops, but that's kind of like my main sequencer. So I sample all strictly vinyl into Fruity Loops and then use Motif Rack for certain sounds. I got the Phantom X8 over here. Bunch of different plugins, things like that. But for the most part, Fruity Loops is the main sequencer that I use. And for people that tell you that Fruity Loops can't do what other programs can do, they're full of shit. So don't believe them. But back to the beat, the kick, I usually lay the sample first and place it so that you can get a feel for it and then pick like the tempo. So what I'm gonna do right now is actually show you the first rough draft of Night on the Town. It was much quicker and not as good, in my opinion. It was cool. It was good for the first idea, but then I slowed it down and gave it more warmth and more depth to it. So by what I didn't do in the first one, that I did in the second one, is layering drums. So with this, there's a pretty well-known drum break. So I looped that, played that. And then what I did after that was, so that you get kind of the air of the drum break, you get the groove. What I did with that was basically put the kick over the top of that, like a synthetic kick, to give it more of like the punch and bass to it. And then I added another drum break, but just the kick. So then what you initially have is a bunch of different kick drums from different drum breaks that become the Night on the Town kick. And same with the snare and the hi-hat. So I'll show you that real quick. So the snare drum is from the other drum break too. Added that, and then I kept the snare roll from one of the drum breaks, so that actually sounds another drum break. So when you put that together, you kind of get. You get that little flam that sounds like a real drummer. And the singer on the chorus is Mario Sweet, who is from a group from Seattle called The Physics. And they're local to Seattle, but also very nationwide with their music. And he came to a studio that I was running on Alki in West Seattle back in like 2011 maybe, because this beat was made in 2011, and recorded on that and did a dope ass job. So then it goes into the verse, which is a stripped down part of that sample, so that way, you know, it gives room for the MC to rap on it. And then about halfway through on each verse, except Substantial's verse, I believe, the bass kicks in at about like this 8-9 bar mark. So it brings more depth to the track. And the bass track sounds a little something like this. So then you can tell those chops right there in the verse. You know, same thing in the intro they do. Because in the original sample, the next part is actually a rundown that does 2 different chord changes. So. Which I left for the turnaround back into the chorus. So it kind of gives a nice resolved feeling at the end of the verses that you hear each time. So the strings come back in. The Rhodes comes back in. And then back to the verse. And we repeat that until we get to the bridge right before Funky DL's verse. And that sounds like this. There's no scratching on this because Vitamin D added the scratches afterwards. But that's the Passing Me By sample. She's my type of hype. And then we're back into the verse. So for the bridge, that's a different part of the sample as well. But then you basically, what I did was add the drums back in halfway through it. There's certain parts where the drum break cuts back out, and just kind of removing and adding different, I guess, parts of the beat back and forth to make it more interesting and keep people's attention, as well as providing a good soundscape for the MC to rap over. And I guess as far as the way this track came together, the way that I envisioned it when I heard the sample was just it's really smooth, and it sounds like, just some dope 70s type laid back hip hop stuff. So what I wanted to do with it was make it kind of like having not really a party, but just kind of that feel of hanging out with a girl, or going out on the town and doing something that you don't normally do on a Friday or Saturday or something like that. So then it kind of came together where I first contacted Substantial, and he did his part, and then I hit up Sice, and he did his part, and then Funky DL, I was talking to Funky DL, and I was like, hey, I got this track, if you want to do a verse, it could be a pretty dope track with all you guys on it. But I never had the intention to get like all of Nujabez's collaborators on there or anything like that. But it just kind of turned out that way, and everybody vibed really well on the track together. And honestly, there's some of my favorite verses from all three of those dudes. And I'd actually talked to Shingo too about doing a verse too. I think when I was DJing for him up in Vancouver, but we never got around to that. It's all love, but I think it'd still be dope if we did a remix. We could do a remix, that's true. But yeah, other than that, kind of just go back over some of the sample chops and stuff, but that's pretty much how I made the track. Just felt natural while I was making it. Actually, I'll play the real track for you real quick. This is all mastered and mixed and everything, so it sounds a lot better.
The sun has changed now, the rain is gone away, right before our eyes. Moonlight in my face, listening to our fate, we gon' be okay. Stars spinning on me.
You remind me of my heartbeat, the way my life force spikes high when you call me. Get me going alive, I rise while you fall asleep. Voice is a whisper from God, so please find me. Must be angelic, even making Jesus jealous. Mind of your own, the devotion of a zealot.
So that's the making of Night on the Town. Hope you guys enjoyed it.
Diabetic, your sweet is my addiction. Strong like running water, cutting grooves in the surface. Small talk becoming conversation to the first kiss. Over and over in my mind you reside.